Here they are, the ND filter set from Polar Pro. Quite happy to have finally arrived, and I've been using them for the last couple of days, and I quite enjoy them.
But you said not to buy ND filters because you don't like them.
Well, I didn't really quite say that. A lot of people took that video the wrong way. I'll explain a bit what I meant by that later, although people seem to think that I think that no one should use ND filters, or that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, you don't need ND filters. They're an aesthetic choice, which I enjoy. We'll do the review first, and then I'll explain about that a little bit later. First off, the quality is quite good. They come in this little case. Quite a fun little thing. Has its magnetic clasp, so it goes quite nicely in the Flormeau baggage. I was a little bit worried about the magnets interfering with the compass, but it doesn't seem to be a problem so far anyway. When you first get the ND filters, just be careful when you're applying them. They do come with a quite useful little tool that you can use. So you simply just apply it and then twist. To put them on, it is clockwise, and to take them off, it is counterclockwise. One thing that I have noticed is that maybe just because of the way that the metal is crafted, it's not entirely level, so when I'm pushing them into the drone's camera, you might just have to make sure that all four corners are pressed down a bit. So I use a few fingers to push down and then slightly turn. If you feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on the gimbal, you're using too much strength, and you need to do something else. You need to just make sure you're not actually damaging it. So just push down on all sides and it should work fine. Now, of course, we're going to use these ND filters to slow down the shutter speed, which gives us the motion blur that people find quite aesthetic. So let's look at what the ND filters actually do. Using the Mavic's camera, I'm going to show you a couple scenes. First, we're going to show you with a shutter speed of 2000. Next, I have a shutter speed of about 400, 500, and finally a shutter speed of 60. And of course, my frame rate for all these videos is 30. Now, as you can see, if we pause the video at the 2000 frame rate, it almost looks like we've just taken a picture. And the video does looks somewhat unnatural, it's hard to explain, kind of jittery, kind of awkward. Again, you can see this if you're using the 500 or 400 shutter speed. Now, looking at the last video with the 60 on the shutter speed and 30 on the frame rate, we have a really nice motion blur. And if we pause the video, you can really see the difference. So we have a really blurred video compared to a really sharp video. And this is just what we're used to seeing on movies, so it feels very natural. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to recreate this effect. If you think about movies like The Hobbit, they did use a 60 shutter speed, and there's also a lot of YouTube channels that use a high frame rate to make things more action-packed. It feels very energetic and quick. So it's definitely an aesthetic choice that you can make. You do not have to do it. However, if you say you do not have to do it, people get really angry, and they always think that this is an actual rule. It's a lot like in photography, you have the rule of thirds. It's not really a rule, it's a guideline. Now let's talk a little bit about what I meant in the previous video. Do not buy these just yet. I was specifically talking about the Mavic 2 Pro, not the Mavic Zoom. Of course, the Mavic Zoom does not have a variable aperture, so you really kind of do need ND filters to get the best quality out of that, and especially for really bright days. For the Mavic 2 Pro, you don't really need the ND filters unless you're chasing that 180-degree rule of having twice your frame rate of your shutter speed. And most people don't need to do this. This is an aesthetic choice, and some people like the high frame rate. Also, many people, I find, just buy a lot of accessories and they waste a lot of money that they don't need to use. If I was a father, or if I was a mother, well, I'm not a mother obviously, but maybe one day. If I just bought an expensive drone for, a couple $1,000s, I bought them in New Zealand dollars, so it was about 3,000. That's a lot of money to drop on a single purchase, and if you've got other family costs, buying a $100 or $200 ND filters can be really unnecessary, considering that you might just be making family videos or doing landscape shots. And actually, to make use of ND filters, you really need to have a lot of motion in your video, which a lot of drone videos is just stationary landscapes or something like that, or just like a family video or something, maybe just showing off the place you're camping in. So in that situation, you don't really need ND filters, and that's what I was trying to say. I personally use them all the time now that I have the set. So if you are going to buy some, I do recommend the Polar Pro ones. They're not paying me to say this, obviously. I just really like the company. There are cheaper ones out there, and I'm going to leave some links in the description where you can get some ND filters. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. I might talk about the ND filter mafia in a future episode, but they seem to get quite angry when you suggest you don't need ND filters. Anyway, if this video has been helpful to you, leave a like, give me a comment. Until next time, cheers, happy flying.